Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Southwick, and I've been in practice over the last 16 years, and I really have a heart for helping people with lower back pain, disc pain, herniations, leg pain, spinal stenosis, all of those sorts of things. And I'm gathering that you're probably watching this video because you or a loved one has, one of these conditions, and it's really negatively affecting your life. So the good news is, over the past 16 years, I've seen the non-surgical, non-prescription care for discs and stenosis and leg pain get better and better and better. And that's the great news. The bad news is that the journal, the Orthopedic Journal Spine, they had a study not too long ago that they took 1,450 people that had degenerative discs, lower back leg pain, disc herniations. They took half of them and they did fusion surgery to cure the pain, and half of them didn't. But what they found is, over 2 years since the surgery, only 26% of the people that had surgery actually got back to work and were able to work and live their lives fully. So what that translates into, nearly an over 70% failure rate. So that's not good enough. Now, I've lived these problems, meaning 3 years ago, I had a wakeboarding accident and I herniated my 4th and 5th lumbar discs. And so I know intimately the searing hot pain down the back parts of the legs, but more importantly, the fear of not being able to work, the fear of possibly not being able to provide. I love golf. It's one of my passions. I was not able to golf, so that affected me emotionally, and you can really get down when you're in pain. The other thing is, I have 3 young children. I was not able to play with them the way they needed to, to be able to go to their events. And on top of that, my wife, it was very scared also, and very much on my case, and very much we have to find a way to get out of our problem. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I fear, when I had that injury, I did talk to a surgeon, and he chuckled a little bit and he said, I know that you don't want to have surgery, but when you can't take the pain any longer, you'll be in my office. And I decided that day, right then and there, that I was finding another way to get back to work, to get back to full function without any surgery. And what I see day in and day out in my office is that when people have these problems and they enter the medical route first, they're rarely ever told of a non-drug, non-surgery way to get out of the problems that they're having. And again, that's what we're going to go over today. When I have someone in the office that has stenosis, a disc problem, bulging, leg pain, all those sorts of things, and again, it's stopping them from doing the things that they want to in life, I almost always find out through their history that there is some old injury that they found or that they felt like they healed from fully. But let me show you what happens. Say you have an old fall on the ice. Say you have an old car accident. Say you have an old football injury, volleyball, sliding into home plate, whatever that is. There was a study that was done at Yale, and they said that any impact over 8 miles an hour was enough force to potentially shift something out of alignment in the spine. And most people will say, well, I wasn't really hurt. I didn't have pain after that. But even a fall, gravity itself, when you hit the ground, is about 21 miles an hour, almost 4 times the amount of force needed to potentially shift something out of alignment. These big football linemen, they run at about 8 to 10 miles an hour, and football running backs, they run at about 18 to 20 miles an hour. So that concussive force is enough to potentially shift something out of alignment. If you're playing volleyball and you dive and dig a ball, that can do it. If you're playing basketball, you set a pick, you get, you hit the floor. So there's a million things in our past that we've done that can potentially shift something out of alignment. Now, this is a crude drawing, but when we look at this, these are the hip bones, this is the tailbone, and then your spine sits right on top of that. And what we would love to see is one bone right on top of another. And what that does is it puts equal pressure on all parts of the disc. And your spine was designed to be able to move in every direction. And when it's at rest, it rests with equal pressure on the disc. Now, when you have an old injury, even if you feel like you healed from it, what probably happened was you had an injury in that lower back and the spine just tilted. And it locks out of place right there. That doesn't always cause pain, but what it does is it causes an uneven weight shift on that disc. And so once there's an uneven weight shift on the disc, every time you walk, every time you lift, every time you run, every time you do anything in life, that's just pounding on one side of the disc more than the other. Now, again, a crude drawing, but a disc from the top view has annular fibers here, and it's got like a jelly filling in the middle. They call it the nucleus. And again, when there's equal pressure on that disc, and that disc is tough. Those discs are so tough that if you were to jump off, something really high and come down and compress, your vertebrae itself would compress before that disc will. But as soon as you tip that spine and that spine's not in the right alignment, that nucleus, that middle, is going to start to shift one way or another. Now, in the beginning, the annular fibers can hold that nucleus in, and in a sense, even though you have an injury here, you don't have pain and your body's compensating. But over the years of pounding on that disc, that annulus, the nucleus is going to bulge out, and then the annular fibers start to bulge out, and you may have pain there. You may have, had pain but gotten out of it, right? And so many times when I talk to people, they say, well, I had pain a long time ago, and then I had another episode, but it's only, it's not a big deal because it comes and goes. Well, it's really concerning for me to hear that it comes and goes, because that means something is wrong underlying, and it's made worse by something you do and better when you quit doing it, okay? And then what happens is you'll drop a pin or something, you'll go over to pick up that pin off the floor, and everything just freezes and your whole lower back blows up. That's what happened when the disc finally says, hey, I've been injured for years, I can't take it, and you get a full-blown disc herniation. And so those are the things that I see in the history when I talk with people. And so here's what needs to happen. Typically, your medical care in a situation like this, because believe me, I know the pain you're in, and there's only one thing that you want, and that's relief. And so typically, we'll go for some sort of relief, which is going to be anti-inflammatories, maybe steroids, maybe injections, muscle relaxants, all of those things. But even if that would take care of the symptom, it never takes care of the physical disc. We've got to get something that's going to get that disc back in, to where it needs to be to take the pressure off that nerve. So what we do in our office is a multifaceted approach. One of the things that doesn't happen in medical care is we use non-surgical spinal decompression. So let me give you an example. In your spine, if this is the vertebrae that is choking on that disc, and that's the disc that's bulging out, one of the things we can do is put a gentle decompressive or a tractioning force on that spinal disc to create a vacuum to suck that disc back in there. And then it has to be done enough times so that we can heal over where that disc is. There's some alignment issues that may need to be addressed. And then what has to happen is we have to get the muscles around the spine strong so that so we can have the long-term result and the long-term correction. Okay? So that's what we do, a three-stage approach. Do the non-surgical spinal decompression. We take care of any alignment issues that need to, and then we strengthen. Okay? Now, relief itself is not always immediate, but our care plans themselves are not always long. So let's face it, I don't typically see people when they're doing great and life is great and grand, but But when the pain has started to affect their life in a negative way, then they come for help. And I always like to set targets and goals so we make sure that that corrective process is happening for you. We always do complimentary consultations here at the office. Our number is 402-228-4000. Just call. You'll come in, bring any imaging that you may have with you. We'll sit down knee to knee. I'll find out what you've done, what hasn't worked, and I'll see if you're a candidate for this care. If you are a candidate for the care, we do a very specific motion x-ray, so you'll be able to see in black and white what's working and what's not working. But more importantly, when we get that correction done, we'll be able to do those motion x-rays again so that we can see and you can see in black and white that it's corrected. That way you haven't had too little of a care plan or care to get a corrective result, but you want to make sure that you're not getting too much care also. So we do that in black and white. I feel that it's one way that we have absolutely been able to help tons of people. I've had the same problem, and I know the worry and the fret, and that, it can even be in the back of your mind, when is this going to happen again? It's not a fun situation to be in. So again, call our office. I'm Dr. Mike Southwick. Our number is 402-228-4000. Ask for a complimentary consultation, and we'll get you taken care of. If it's something that I can't help with, I'll tell you that also. So I look forward to serving you. Give us a call. Thank you.